What comes to your mind when you hear the word Dudula? Or what comes to your mind when you hear the word Dhabulaap? What comes to your mind when you hear that the president of a country is campaigning, and in one of his campaigning manifestos, he is promising the nation that if he wins the elections, he is going to erect a wall separating his country from another country? What comes to your mind when you hear that? What comes to my mind is the word immigration. Whether legally or illegally, I think of immigration. From time immemorial, people have migrated from one country to another. There is nothing wrong with a person leaving UK for America, or America for Africa, or Africa for New Zealand, or New Zealand for Australia, or Australia for Africa, as long as it is done properly and legally. So now, when I use the word Dudula, I use the word Dhabulaap, I use the word illegal immigration, automatically you think of Southern Africa, where you have a situation where our African brothers, or people from Asia, people from India, are getting into Johannesburg legally or illegally, looking for so-called, unquote, greener pastures. So now today, I want to talk about an issue which is called Dhabulaap, or double up. In our African lingo, we call it Dhabulaap. You know, when you are coming from Zimbabwe, or Bulawayo in particular, Harare, Plumtree, and you are getting into South Africa without documentation, or getting through the shortcuts without passing through a border, they call it Dhabulaap. And this Dhabulaap is a very, very, very dangerous exercise, where you have mothers with children on their backs risking their lives to cross the river. Is it the Limpopo? Yeah, the Limpopo River, getting into South Africa to make a living. And I don't blame them. Where they are coming from, there is no food, no jobs, no bread in the morning, no decent meal in the afternoon, and no decent meal in the evening. So what is at stake? Where they are coming from, they will risk dying of hunger. Where they are going, they risk being called illegal immigrants, Makwerekwere, Kalanga. And my people from Zimbabwe, I am part of what you feel, because I've gone through that exercise. So now, when you look at a mother, at a young man crossing the Zambezi River illegally into South Africa, one, they can be crushed, or they can be eaten by crocodiles. Two, they can be robbed. If they are women, they can be raped. But all the same, they have to cross the Limpopo River and get into South Africa to look for food, to hustle. And I sympathize with my people. On the other side, where they are going, someone is waiting for them, telling them, go back where you come from. Now, I am not here to condemn Dudula and sympathize with my people. That's not what I am here for. I just want to show you something about borders, immigration, so-called immigration, legally or illegally. Now, when you have a people coming from Mozambique, Maputo, Lesotho, Swaziland, Mbabane, Lusaka, Zambia, Blantyre, Malawi, Lilongwe, Kinshasa, DRC, and they are all flooding in one area called Johannesburg, you end up having a culture shock. What do you think will happen when you take people from Lesotho? Or let's say you take a building with 18 floors, it's a flat, or a story building with 18 stories. First floor up to 18. And in the first floor, you put people from Zimbabwe. Second floor, people from Mozambique. Third floor, people from Kenya. Fourth floor, people from Botswana. Fifth floor, Lesotho. Sixth floor, Pakistan. Seventh floor, Somalia and Ethiopia. Eighth floor, Malawi. And on and on and on. And you put them in one building. What do you think will come out? You will have a culture shock. People will start killing each other because culturally, they don't understand each other. You are having a nation within a nation. So in that case, you are having 19 nations or 10 nations living in one building. So what is going to come out inevitably is that you are going to have a culture shock. And people start killing each other. Now, what is my point? I'm just trying to show you that this thing called immigration is found in the Bible. Where is my Bible? Let me take my Bible and read, so that you understand what I am talking about. Now, where do we find immigration in the Bible? Or who established borders? Whose idea is that in countries there must be demarcations? As I've said before, or I might not have mentioned it, I must have said it to someone. A man called Donald Trump won an election promising the people of America that when you choose me as your leader, I'm going to shut the border between America and Mexico. I'm going to erect a wall so that illegal, so-called illegal immigrants from Mexico with drugs, weapons, people stealing cars out of Arizona, Miami, that western coast of America, all the way to Oregon, will not come in and steal cars. I'll shut the border. I am not here to say what Donald did was right or was wrong. That's not my idea. But I'm just trying to show you that a man won an election promising people to shut his country from another country. Why? Because of immigration. Now, which country in the world have you had which allows people to just get into it willy-nilly? You come into UK without a passport and you get out without a passport. It doesn't work that way. So now, whose idea is it that we have borders everywhere where we go? You know, in my country or in Southern Africa, you hear people saying, this issue of borders, it came with the white people. This was a Makwerekwere. We must scratch, or we must scrape this issue of borders from South Africa to Egypt. You must just walk free. Really? You think that is possible? Picture it this way. Like I was in Cape Town in 1997, 98. I was in Cape Town at a place called Greenpoint. And there was an issue where cars were being stolen from Cape Town into Maseru in Lesotho. People, you will just come from Maseru, Lesotho, get into Cape Town. You know, I had the chance of talking to some of them because somebody told me, you see those guys? They came all the way from Lesotho to come and steal cars. So, you know, I'm a very inquisitive person. I talk to anyone. Like at one point, I was talking to criminals. I preached to a criminal in South Africa. One who was carrying guns, was shooting people. And then I saw him. I sat him down. I said, can you tell me something? How do you do it? He says, you know what? When I was born, my parents separated and my mother died. And when I grew up, I had to look after myself. no morals. No one told me this is right, this is wrong. So I became a law unto myself. So for me to survive, I had to follow my evil friends who were shooting people to get money for food. So that's who I am. I can even give you his name. His name was Tina. I said, so how do you do it? He said, I shoot people to get money. So I said, I want to tell you about Jesus. He says, go on. And then I told him about Jesus. And then he repented. And then he said, I want to make a promise to you today that you have told me something which I've never heard. And then what I am going to do, I want to go back to Togoza and look for my relatives and then tell them that I'm now a Christian. I will not continue shooting people. I looked after him for some time. He was staying in my house, that guy. I was staying with him. I was counseling him. Don't do this, don't. And then I didn't even care that he was a criminal. He took his gun and then he threw it away. Yeah, he had a gun. At the time I was talking to me, he had a gun. And then I was saying, tell me, how do you do it? He was telling me, we shoot people, we do it this way, we do it this way, we do it this way, we do it this way. So I talk to people who are in problems. That's me. So this other time, as I've said, I was in Greenpoint in Cape Town. And then I was preaching to someone who wanted to steal a car. I said, how do you do it? He says, the only problem we have is getting into the car and getting to the Lesotho border. Once we get to the border with Lesotho and South Africa, case closed. Why? Officials from the Lesotho government will be waiting for me to take the car, put it in the government registration, and the car is a Lesotho car. They will paint it, take off the serial numbers, put Lesotho number plates, take the car back to Cape Town to sell it. So the problem is from here, getting into the car, starting the car, and getting to the Lesotho border. Once I get to the Lesotho border, case closed. What is my point? I'm talking about borders. So when your car is stolen in Cape Town and it gets to the Lesotho border, case closed, you will not get it. What is it I am trying to put across? I'm trying to show you how crime operates when a border is loose. So now I have said there is something called Dhabulaap. Whose ideas is it that we must have borders? I showed you that you take people, you claim them in one place, you have a cultural shock. So now today, I want to show you that a border was not erected by a white man. A border was not erected by a leader of a country. Who erected a border? Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 32. Whose idea are borders? Whose creation are borders? Who started with the issue of borders? I am going to answer the question. Deuteronomy chapter 32. Who made borders? Is it the white man? As I've said, I've heard even people call the prophets saying you must destroy the borders so that people can have the freedom of moving from Cape Town to Cairo, from Cairo to America, from America to Australia. People must be free. There was even something called Brexit, where the people of the UK voted to get out of the EU, and there was a worldwide anger. People were angry. I remember talking to people in South Africa and they were angry. So why did UK leave the EU? I will show you why today. I'm going to make maybe 3 parts and I'm going to explore it scriptural, biblically. So now I've asked you the question, whose ideas or whose idea are borders? Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8. I will read from the King James Version. Deuteronomy 32, verse 8. When the Most High divided the nations. Okay, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds or the boundaries or the demarcations of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. I will read the verse again. Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the boundaries of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. So who made boundaries? Whose idea that we have borders? It's God. Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 8. So when you are talking of a boundary, when you are talking, you see the word boundary goes hand in hand with the word nations. The Bible says, go into the whole world and preach the gospel to the nations and make nations my disciples. So when you have Mexico, a nation, you have America, you have New Zealand, you have Australia, you have South Africa, you have Zambia, you have South Africa, you have God's idea. Let me tell you the truth. Look at South Africa as a nation, it prospered. Look at Zimbabwe, or being called Rhodesia, as a nation, it prospered. Look at the Botswana people under their own culture, they prospered. Look at Zambia, it prospered. Malawi. Why? It is God's design that nations must remain independently. The essence of a nation is its people. Now, am I saying people mustn't migrate? No, that is not what I said. What is my case? My case is that when I go to South Africa, I must respect the South Africans in their nation. Therein comes Dudula. What is Dudula fighting for? You see, I want to be honest with you people. I have never heard the leaders of Dudula telling people to go and shoot foreigners. I've never heard them saying that. What I have heard them saying, we must protect our borders from illegal immigrants and people who come into South Africa with drugs to kill our children. That's what I've heard. Am I saying there are no criminal elements operating under the umbrella of Dudula? No, I'm not saying that. But what I have heard the Dudula leader saying is, we must fight for the sovereignty of South Africa. People who are coming into South Africa with drugs, with crime, their first stop must be deportation. That's what I've heard. Now, I don't want to leave it or to end it on Dudula. Which country does not fight for its people? Tell me one country which is not fighting for its borders. So South Africa must just allow everyone to get into South Africa, sell drugs, get the money and get out of your country and feed your children. What do you think, as I've said before, of a person who will steal your Toyota at Greenpoint Stadium in Cape Town and drive it the whole night to Johannesburg? The following day drives it to Beitbridge border post. The second day he is in Lusaka, Zambia. The third day he is in Lilongwe. The fifth day he is in Tanzania, in Arusha. And he sells the car because the borders are porous. No accountability, no record. Why? God is the one who created borders for a purpose. Every human being must be accountable. When you steal a car in South Africa, the Zimbabwean border is open. The Mozambican border is open. The Zambian border is open. The Botswana border is open. How do you expect to recover your car? No documentation. No records, no fingerprints. I come from Tanzania, no fingerprints, and I steal your car. Or I rape a child in Soweto, and you don't know who I am. How are you going to account for me? What is my point? My point is very simple and very clear. We must be accountable. When I get into South Africa, I must have a passport. So that when I rape someone or I commit a crime, I must be accounted for. When they look for me, they must find me, and I must pay for my actions. Now, when you have a country where there are no borders, no passport, no document, I rape someone, I kill someone, I commit fraud, no accountability. So I have been trying to show you that in Numbers, or in Deuteronomy chapter 32, a border was created by God for a reason. The reason of law and order. I live in the UK. I live in Scotland. I don't just behave the way I want in Scotland. Do you know what I do? I respect the Scottish people. I respect their laws. I respect their emotions. When Scotland is beaten in football by Ukraine, I respect what they are feeling because I am living among them. I don't impose my values in their system. I don't undermine their culture. I respect what they respect. I respect their laws. Why? I am being a good citizen. That's why they vet that, is this man worthy to live among us? Picture this now. I take drugs, I sell them to Scottish kids. I rape their children. I run over their kids. I overspeed. You see, when you are in the UK, one of the things you will discover is that in the traffic there is order. Where I am living here right now, where I am right now, you will see a bus coming. It's coming right now. It's doing 10 miles an hour because this area is for children. Look at it there. It's not overspeeding. Once it overspeeds, the driver will be fired. Tonight, you'll be gone. Why? There is order. There is law and order. Now you go into South Africa. I'm not saying that's what is happening. You just go, you are overspeeding and you kill somebody. You don't have documents. The next day you are in Maputo. Who will get hold of you? I am just trying to show you that a border was created by God. Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 8. So who loves porous borders or borders with no accountability is a man called the lawlessness one, the devil himself. That's why you see that a man can kill people in Kigali, in Rwanda. Is it Kigali is Rwanda? I'm sure it's Rwanda, if I'm not mistaken, or Burundi, whatever. He kills people in Kigali. Boom! He runs away. And he has been living in Johannesburg for the past 20 years. No document, no passport, no license, nothing. But he's living happily in South Africa. And Dudula rises up and says, enough is enough. Dear Dudula brothers, may you fight for your Zimbabwean brothers so that they can go back nicely without fighting. Because I can tell you that our brothers in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, they don't like to commit crime. but they find themselves being victims of where they are coming from. So if you understand my point, I am not saying what Zimbabweans are doing in South Africa. The majority of our people in Zimbabwe, or in South Africa from Zimbabwe, they are good, peace-loving people. Wake up, go to work, sustain their families without documentation. And they don't enjoy it because where they are coming from, they are suffering. Now, you Dudula brothers, I am with you 100% on the issue of saying, if someone is not documented, they must go back where they are coming from. Why? For law and order maintenance. I get you on that. So, borders were created by God. I will show you another verse which shows that borders were created by God. Acts chapter 17, verse 24. Borders were created by God, not by a white man. Acts chapter 17, verse 24. Who created borders? Tinto zamahua, izinto zabelungu, zvinhu zvevarungu. Borders were not created by the white man. They were created by God. Acts chapter 17. Next time you see yourself getting into South Africa without a border, without a passport, not only for your good, you are committing a crime. You know what, my brother, without a passport, I sympathize with you. But let us look at it the other way. Let us look at it this way. You drive, you get into the boot of a car. Right through the border, you pay that soldier or that policeman or that immigration officer at the Bedbridge border post. And when you get to Messina, there is a roadblock. You pay that police force member. When you get to Pretoria, Mabopane, or Mahalape, in Hammanskraal, you pay again until you get into Hillbrow. Somehow, when you get into Hillbrow, someone is robbing a bank, boom, a bullet hits you and you are dead on the spot. You don't have a passport. You don't have documentation. And your relatives don't know where you are. What do you think will happen of your body? This is what we must face, my Zimbabwean brothers. We are people of value. So now, when you are shot in Hillbrow, you don't have a passport, you don't have an ID. How do you expect your body to be identified? This goes back to what? Documentation. I'm told that in the mortuaries or the morgues of Hillbrow, there are piles and piles of corpses which cannot be identified. They don't even know who it is. Why? You are not accounted for. I'm not blaming you, but I'm just trying to show you that you need to go back to Zimbabwe one day when you get money. Get a document. Be accounted for the sake of your dignity. Acts chapter 17. Who made borders? Acts chapter 17. Verse 24. God that made the world. So the world was made by God. And all things therein, seeing that he is Lord of heavens and earth, of heaven and earth, dwells not in temples made with hands. Verse 25. Neither is worshipped with men's hands, as though he needed anything, seeing he gives to all life and breath and all things. Verse 26. And has made of one blood all nations. Dear South African, dear British, dear Zimbabwean, dear Korean, dear American, dear Australian, dear Tanzanian, dear Mozambican, we are all of one blood. You see, when you take the blood of a Mozambican, the blood of a Zimbabwean, an American, a British, or a Chinese, the blood is the same. Verse 26. And has made of one blood all nations of men, for to dwell on all the face of the earth. It doesn't say to dwell on one place of the face of the earth. It says on all the face of the earth. So the Chinese are happy in China. The British are happy in Britain. The Americans are happy in America. I am not saying now when you are in America, you are not allowed to go to Africa. That is not my point. I'm just trying to show you the order of God, how God made things. That when you are in America, you are in your homeland. When you are in Zimbabwe, you are in your homeland. When you are in South Africa, you are in your homeland. And when I come to your homeland, I must respect your values in your homeland. I don't go to South Africa and start doing my things. I say, in Zimbabwe, don't do it this way. I will be shot. I don't come here to Scotland and say, in Zimbabwe, you do it this way. I will be deported. Why? I'm just trying to show you that we must respect people in their land. I was talking to one Scottish gentleman. I was saying, you know what? You saw me wearing, that Scottish t-shirt. When Scotland is playing, I stand with the people of Scotland, 100%. When England is playing, I stand with the English, 100%. Why? I respect the country which I am a visitor to. When you go to Zimbabwe and you are a South African, you have to respect the people of Zimbabwe. Don't say, I am a South African. In Zimbabwe, I do what I want. Because they will say, Unoda uti jairira. And you will be deported. When you go from Zimbabwe to South Africa and you want to do what you want in South Africa, you know what the Zulu brothers will tell you? In Cape Town, the Xhosa will say, "Usijala ngoko." Ewe bhuti, ufuna usijwayela kabi. Why? Respect people in their country. Acts chapter 17, verse 26. God made nations. What else? We are continuing. Verse 26. And he has made of one blood all nations of men, for to dwell on the face of the earth, and has determined the times before appointed, and the bounds or the boundaries or the borders of their habitation. So borders were made by God. Respect them. Don't enter into people's countries without passports. Respect South Africa. Respect Zimbabwe. Respect Nigeria. Respect America. Respect the UK. Don't get into the UK without a border. So when you see someone getting into another man's country without a license, a passport, what are you seeing? You are seeing the spirit of the Antichrist. How many times have you heard pastors saying, destroy the borders? Why? When you destroy borders, you are serving the devil. Because Satan is happy to see a man without a passport stealing cars and those cars disappearing. Satan is happy to see a pedophile bringing in drugs in the UK and kids dying, and you can't arrest that man because you don't know who he is. Why? Porous borders. Now, I have spoken about borders. Why is it that when you look at a group called Dudula, people are saying they are racist? Do you know, brothers and sisters, the issue of people fighting for their nation is in the Bible. Let me show you something. Let's go to the book of Numbers chapter 20. Numbers chapter 20. In the Bible, immigration and borders. Numbers chapter 20. Verse 14. And Moses sent messengers from Kadesh to the king of Edom. This was Moses and the children of Israel. They were leaving Egypt, going to the promised land. Thus says thy brother Israel. This is Moses talking to the Edomites. You know all the travail that has befallen us as a nation, the Israelites. How our fathers went down into Egypt, and we have dwelt in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians vexed us. They ill-treated us in their nation. And when we cried to the Lord, he heard us. Okay, then verse 17. Let us pass, I pray you, through your country. Allow us to pass through your country as we are going to the promised land. We are not going to enter through your country by violence, by force. Allow us, give us permission to pass through your borders. Verse 17. Let us pass, I pray, through your country. We will not pass through the fields or through the vineyards. You see, he says, we are not going to abuse your crops. We are not going to abuse your vineyards. We are not going to work in your country without permission or without work permits. We are not going to work illegally. What else? Neither will we drink of the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand or to the left until we have passed your borders. King of Edom, give us a visa to pass through your land. This was Moses asking for a visa for the children of Israel to pass through the land of Edom. What else? And Edom said unto him, you should not pass by me, lest I come against you with a sword. He says, I am not going to give you a visa. You don't have permission to get through my country. What did Moses do? Listen. And the children of Israel said unto him, we will go by the highway. And if I and my cattle drink of your water, then I'll pay for it. And the king refused. Thus, verse 21, Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border, whereof Israel turned away from him. What do you do when America refuses you a visa? You go into the country illegally. What do you do when South Africa refuses you a visa? Do you go into the country illegally? So now Israel was told by Edom, I don't want you in my country. And what did Israel do? You went through. When you are refused a visa into South Africa, you go through to Mozambique. It's very painful, but sometimes it must be done. Because when you die in South Africa, it becomes hard for you to come back to your country because you don't have documentation. Leviticus chapter 19. When you are in South Africa as a Zimbabwean, when you are in America as a British, when you are in UK as a Nigerian, what must be your host do? Let's say you are a Zimbabwean like me in UK. What are the Scottish people supposed to do to me? Leviticus 19. This is just the introduction. I will make a part 2 of this when we understand where I am going. Leviticus chapter 19. What must be the attitude of the South Africans to the Zimbabweans in Johannesburg? Leviticus 19. Verse 33. And if a stranger dwells with you in your land, you shall not vex him. And if a stranger dwells with you in your land, you shall not vex him. Dear South Africans, do not vex the Zimbabweans. Dear Zimbabweans, do not vex the Malawians. Dear Zambians, do not vex Zimbabweans. We are all guilty of this. It's not an issue of South Africa or Zambia or Zimbabwe only. Let me be very honest with you. Dear Zimbabweans, what were we saying to the Mozambicans when they were having their issues in Maputo, when there was a war between Renamo and Frelimo? What were we saying? We were saying, Moskens, I'm looking for a boy to head my cattle. Go and look for Moskens in the village. Mosken. And we were paying them peanuts. Why? We were looking down at the Mozambicans. We were calling them Moskens. I remember when I was in Mount Darwin, when the police were chasing the Mozambicans, people were laughing. My Moskens, where are they? You know, we're treating them like they are aliens, like chaff. Verse 33. If a stranger dwells with you in your land, you shall not vex him. I thank God for the Scottish. They are treating me very well. They are giving me everything I want. And in return, I respect them. There is no nation which respects foreigners like Scotland. I can honestly tell you that. The people, even the rulers of this nation, the authorities, they are saying they are passing a bill where they want more people from other nations to come and settle in Scotland and give them permanent citizenship because they respect foreigners. Leviticus 17 verse 33. Okay, verse 34. But the stranger that dwells with you shall be to you as one born among you, and you shall love him as yourself. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Thank you.